All right. Welcome, everybody. We're glad that you're all joining us, and we'll get started here in just a minute.
I ate this breakfast for a whole year straight. I absolutely love it. And I know it's not a new recipe, but let's show you how to make it again.
I am just muting everyone's mics. We are recording, and that just helps us keep. Because I hit mute, all speakers will have to unmute themselves. Sorry about that, guys.
Again, good morning, everybody, and welcome. We are glad that you're here, and we're going to get started in just a minute.
We're ready? Should we start? All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Welcome to the Minnesota Connect Network session. I am Megan Zeilinger. I work for Dakota County Social Services, and we're really excited to spend the next hour with you talking about family and professional partnerships in IEP development. Next slide, please. So here's our brief agenda. So we only have an hour together today, so we're going to fly through some of our information. So first I'm doing welcome and introductions. Then we're going to have Jamie and Ellen talk to you about information.
You cannot choose.
So we're going to have some information sharing from Jamie and Ellen on why youth and families need this professional partnership in IEPs and why that's really important for our students. And then also to review how to use the Charting the Life Course trajectory tool to partner in the IEP process, which we think will be really valuable for all of us, regardless of what your role is in our system. And then after that, Heather and Nicole are going to talk to you about what a good life looks like when you're using that tool in an IEP meeting. So we're really excited about that. Next slide, please. In case you were curious, the Minnesota Connect leadership team is made up of professionals from all over our service system. So we have school districts represented, advocacy organizations, a few different counties, state agencies, providers. So we're really a diverse group of individuals coming together to teach people in Minnesota about Charting the Life Course, because we love the tools and we know that they could be really helpful as we're working together to really move our system forward in a more person-centered way. Next slide again. So here is a brief introduction of some of today's speakers. You will get this PowerPoint sent out after the meeting, so you can dive in more and learn more about who was talking to you today. But we have Jamie, Ellen, Heather, Nicole, Elisa, and Meredith that will be sharing information with you. Next slide again. So really the core belief of Charting the Life Course, if you are new to what Charting the Life Course is that all people have the right to live, love, work, play, and pursue their own life aspirations in their communities. So I think that is a core belief that all of us can get behind. And the great thing about Charting the Life Course, if you want to go to the next slide, is that there are a set of tools that we can use to really help people and families of all abilities to explore their life possibilities, to share ideas, hopes, and fears, to set high expectations, to navigate their future, to advocate together for a common vision, and to really problem solve and plan. So throughout today, you're going to learn, if you want to go to the next slide, about some of these different tools like the integrated STAR and the life trajectory. And we just also wanted you to know that if you want to explore the Charting the Life course website, and many of these resources are also available on Disability Hub, there are guides that focus on specific ages and sort of important transitions in a person's life. So Charting the Life course can be used for people in early childhood education, school-age children transitioning to adulthood, which we all know is a really crucial time where we have to do really strategic planning together as a team, and then focusing on adulthood as well. So Charting the Life course encompasses all those different life phases. And I'm going to turn it over to Jamie now to talk more about why youth and families and professional partnerships in the IEP process are really important.
Thank you, Megan. I'm excited to be here today. I am sharing the family perspective. I also bring a professional component. I work with Family Voices of Minnesota. But I'll dive right in. I know everyone showed up today because we know the value and the importance of student and family partnerships with professionals. But we did want to quickly put some language around that big why. Whether or not we want to admit it, families and professionals come to the table juggling a range of distractions and priorities. So we all know that we need practices and concepts and tools that help keep the student at the heart of the IEP development and implementation. Rich partnerships allow teams to build shared language. As a family member, I can tell you that IEPs are complex and often intimidating. Teams really want to find ways to talk about the student's strengths, about their interests, and then build goals that everyone at the table can understand, really answering those questions. What does this look like and why are we doing it? And this last bullet point, the solving problems creatively, if creative is a triggering word for you, getting unstuck is what I hear, the phrase I hear most from families after they've tried out Charting the Life course. We know that the barriers and challenges and exhaustion for individuals with disabilities, for their families, and the professionals partnering with them is real. So we know that we can stir the idea pot using the LifeCourse Nexus. We can use it to come together and get a clear picture of the student's vision. We can develop that shared language, and then suddenly we're no longer trying to put together puzzle pieces without an idea of what the picture is. My favorite analogy about this, the getting unstuck piece, is figuring out how to make dinner with what's in the pantry. I also like to think of it as turning the dial or rearranging the furniture. You get the picture. Next slide, please, Meredith. So I'm in my 9th year as a member of my daughter's IEP team. Nora turns 12 on Monday, and she's a 6th grader, which means that she just transitioned from elementary to middle school last fall. So vision writing has been a part of my IEP prep process since Nora was in kindergarten. And I was really excited about 2 years ago to learn about Charting the Life course. It really resonated with me. On this slide, you're looking at an example of one Charting the Life course tool called the trajectory tool, which is what we're focusing on as a group today. This was filled out for my daughter's transition to middle school meeting for her transition to middle school. We didn't sit down at a table and fill out this worksheet. We were a family just having a playful, enjoyable conversation. As a family, I mean, it was led by Nora and included her dad, me, and her brother. And we asked questions like, what do you imagine your good middle school life would be like? I don't know how much you can see. We are going to dive in more, so it's not a big deal, but we started with what she and we didn't want. It can be really helpful to put some of our fears aside. And then In the middle of the sheet, that's where we talked about past experiences that either moved her towards a good school experience or things that got in the way down on the bottom. And then from there, we were able to really just talk about what her vision was for a good middle school experience. She wants to feel good about herself as a learner, have a sense of belonging. She wants to be active, so swimming, being outside. Music is always a big piece. And then as her parents, we added up there that we want that trajectory to be towards employment and living a life of choice. So we shared this with the IEP team going into that transition meeting, and we're super pleased to see it brought up a lot during that meeting. It brought a lot of clarity and kind of energy, and made it more of an enjoyable process. So with that, if we go to the next slide, we're going to just watch a 1.5-minute video about what is this trajectory tool to get a better understanding. Meredith, I wonder if you're going to have to unshare and reshare with your audio. I didn't think about that in the beginning.
Talk about
Can you hear?
the life trajectory as one of the tools.
Yes.
And this is the one that that Hudson and I worked together with his family to look at what vision he was looking for. When you look at a life trajectory, you can see on the boxes here, it's a vision for what I want and then what I don't want. So if I ask you, tell me what your vision is, and this is for anyone in general, what is your vision in 5 years? Many times that's a difficult question to answer. I mean, you could think of a few things, but it is a difficult question to answer. But if I say, tell me what you don't want in 5 years, then all you can say, well, I know I don't want to be homeless and I don't want to not have enough money to support myself. And there's a lot of don't wants that you can figure out. And many times you can build what that vision of what you do want from that as well. So maybe sometimes you do need to start with that question and then start to focus on those positives, focus on what vision you do want. Well, I want a nice home where my family can live. I would like to have a dog or a cat. I would like, and you're able to build from there. You also identify steps and experiences, those past experiences that you've had, as well as future experiences that you need to get to the vision that you're looking for. You also look at strengths and barriers within each one of those categories and what is there.
So the next
The tools,
video that we're going to
this is
play
the
is
one
just another family story of using the trajectory tool. And it looks like we're going to be able to watch both of our family stories, Meredith. It looks like we're running a little bit ahead, which is nice. But to answer the question in the chat, we will have the professional perspective too. Sorry, thank you.
Sample of the life trajectory worksheet that my family sat down, my family being my son's dad, me, and then his sister. We included his sister in the conversation because in all reality right now, she's probably going to be the one to take over or help us with him in the future, should something happen to one of us. And also he just loves her. And she gets him. So we started down in the bottom, and this was his vision for a good life, like I said, in case something happens to us. So we did a long range life trajectory, and knowing what we know about him, we did start with the what I don't want, because we don't want to hold him back, but it's hard for us to see a vision for him with some of his quirks and what we're learning about him right now. So this was based off where he was at that time. And so I'm gonna move my screen here. If you could see what we don't want. We don't want him to end up in a poorly staffed group home. We don't want him stuck on the electronics all day. We don't want him to become aggressive. These are all things that all three of us sat around the table and we know we do not want that for him. So based off that information, it helped us to come up with what we believe a vision for a good life for him would be. And past life experiences helped us kind of go with that. What does he like? Well, he loves Valley Fair. He loves monster truck shows, swimming, hiking. But he honestly, the most things that he does love is one-on-one attention. He loves just being with someone and working with them. You could probably get him to do something super boring if it was just you one-on-one talking with him. And even though he doesn't talk back much, he does enjoy it. And it is evident with the smile on his face. So that's a little bit about that. We could set this trajectory up as one just for the school year if we wanted to. If I had done this trajectory for him going into kindergarten, we started him out in kindergarten half days. And my goals for kindergarten that year were that he learn the school, learn his surroundings, learn to work with people other than his mom, and that he was comfortable doing that. I went in letting them know that our goal this year is for him to be comfortable with you, and we can worry about the rest later. Well, the following year, he had gotten to know his school surroundings and his teachers, and he was with the same teacher the following year. But for his regular ed room where he's supposed to spend some of the day, they decided to put him in a double classroom with two teachers with twice as many kids. But my son at the time, he was overwhelmed by large groups of people, and it would not have been a good fit. So had I had my trajectory for his first grade year as to be working towards being in the regular ed classroom more, and obviously less time in the closed classroom, I would have been able to show them, you know what, putting him in this team teaching led classroom might not be a good idea to help us meet his goals. And it can be overwhelming to question professionals. I know when the acronyms are flying out there, I just kind of go with it. And it's like, I have no idea what I got out of that meeting, but had I had the courage to ask the questions, I would have learned a whole lot more. And you're your child's biggest advocate. You know your child the best. And if you don't speak up, everyone else is just more or less getting to know them, and they have more stuff on their plate. So you kind of just need to be the one to bring the vision to the table and remind everyone, remember our goal at the beginning of the year. Well, this will set him up for success. So I think it just would really help you at an IEP meeting, or any time in general when you're feeling like we're just, treading water. There's really no goal here. Maybe it's time to sit down and figure out what you believe would be a better scenario for the school year or for next week, or trying to figure out what you want to do with your life after school. Not sure what you want to do. There's just so many ways you can use this for yourself, not just for your child with disability, but I think just bringing this to the table gives you what you need to show that your child is just that. They're a child. They're more than a bunch of deficits on paper. They're more than just these little goals. They're a human, and they are wanting to live their best life. And this is what we've came up with for now. And let's continue to work towards that.
I think we have one more family story, and then we'll move on and to Miss Ellen.
Just 1 second here. Let me. I'm a little stuck. All right, give me a moment. I think we're good.
This trajectory tool that I did for my son, I actually did sort of primarily him filling it out, over the course of several conversations over the course of several weeks. It was originally written, you probably can't see this in a tiny little thing, but it's handwritten in like 3-4 different pens and pencils, because anytime he would come up with, anytime I kind of saw an opening where he would be willing to share a little bit about what he envisioned of his life, then I would quick kind of scroll it down. So I didn't want, he did not respond well to the idea of, hey, let's sit down and do this form. It'll be fun. That didn't really go over big with him. So I tried to do it this way. Yeah, so there was a lot of things in here, and a lot of things that he really that were really illuminating to my wife and I. The fact that he really wants to live at home. Now, he doesn't care if mom and dad are there when he gets older. That took us a little by surprise. We did find out that he has a crush on a girl. That was fun. So that was exciting for us to find that information out. So we did present this to his new team at his middle school, and they were very appreciative of it. I also think that it helps provide a good common language that we will all be able to use together as we are planning and get this first month or so here as school starts. I did also, now this isn't included in here, but I also did one that's just for middle school. The same sheet, but only for middle school, looking at past life experiences in school and a vision for what this one I took and I was filled out by myself, my wife, and my son. And, you know, what do my wife and I view as a good, you know, like sort of the good life of 6th grade, and what is the not so good? What is not a good life of 6th grade? And then we were able to get his direct input as well. Some of the things that, the fact that going from elementary school into middle school, you lose that, you know, you lose recess. Boy, oh boy, that took me, we had to talk him off the ledge on losing recess. So yeah, and then we left this middle section, the middle section that says moving forward, we left that blank. So that is something that in our first meeting that we have, that you know, won't be his IEP meeting, but hopefully a first meeting here to sort of check in and see how things are going, that we can fill this out together. My wife and I, Bennett, and his team, so that we can all have it together and share it with not just the paras and the people who will be around him in his special education training, but with his the other teachers that in the mainstream class. So yeah, so those are the so I was able to use this for Ben for 2 specific different reasons. One sort of a macro, and one a very micro, looking at it very specifically.
Thank you so much. I'm going to hand the torch over to Ellen to talk from the professional side.
Thanks, Jamie, and thanks, Meredith, for running all this technology. You're my hero. So I work at a transition center with students that are 18 to 21 years old. And I was introduced to the life trajectory and the Charting the Life course materials through our employment building capacity cohort, the ECBC cohort. And so we've been, I wouldn't say our district is using them yet. We're exploring them together. And the trajectory is the one that just really has become such a useful tool for me with my students. And this particular student was probably one of the first students I did this with. And the way we started is I completed a trajectory about this student and my perspective. And I had his parents fill out a trajectory and their perspective. And then I had the student fill out the trajectory. And then we used the student's trajectory to kind of talk about my feelings from a professional side and talk about his mom and dad's feelings from a parent side. And then that helped us come up with the current trajectory we have here, which is mostly from his. But you've kind of heard it from the parents that you listened to, and you heard it from Jamie. The place to start for most people, they're finding that red box, what I don't want. And that was really rang true with all my students. It's so much easier for them to start there. They can tell you what they don't want, but it's really difficult for them to describe what they do want. And he and I are at the point now where when we meet, he always has his trajectory with him. And if he doesn't, I have a copy and we bring it out. But it's always on the table and it's always the focal point. This is what you want. And this is why we're going to do the next activity that we're going to do, because it fits into your trajectory and where you want to go in life or what you don't want to happen in life. And that has really seemed to help keep him focused and moving forward. So we use it as a tool every time we meet. And then that common language between myself and the student and the parents, or if we bring in VRS, or if we bring in a county agency, any mental health providers, we're all talking about the same thing. And that, I think, is a huge comfort for the student. It can get a little overwhelming. Some of those tables get pretty big with a lot of different people, and they all have their own forms and they all have their own things they want to accomplish. But if we keep the student as the focus, and their trajectory does that, it also gives us a common language that student can maybe not feel quite as overwhelmed. So when we fill out that red box, I just have some examples. So the student was having that difficult time, but what they did know about their employment goal was they did not want to get stuck in a low-paying job, and they used the word dead-end job. And so then this led us to a conversation about he wants his job to be enjoyable. He wants to make enough money to live in an apartment on his own, or with a roommate. He was up for discussion about that. And then he also wants his job to afford him the amount of time he wants for gaming and the money he needs to play his games. And so that gave us a really good look at what we need to work towards. The next one that he identified that he did not want was a very large shock to his family and provoked a lot of conversations at home, but he said he does not want to have children. And his mom had the parents had on their sheet that they were excited for grandchildren, for him to have children. So that's a big conversation for them to have, and to recognize, wow, we're on different pages here. And it, it really is ultimately up to him, whether he's going to have children or not. But what does that look like then? What do you want? And he does want to have a significant other. He identified that, and he determined that he was going to need to practice safe sex and with potential partners. And so that opened up a whole door for, IEP goals and objectives in talking about what that looks like, healthy relationships. The parents, decided they were going to handle some things on their end, talking about their morals and values and their beliefs and practices in their faith community. But they also said, we kind of need you to maybe take the scientific part of this and talk about different options for safe sex, and that it's not 100% foolproof. So that opened the door of what would happen if there was an accident and there was a pregnancy. And then that went back to the parents to talk about their morals and their values and their practices within their faith community on how they would want him to handle that, but also giving him all the options that he would have to make choices about that. So it just opened up a huge curriculum, a huge goals and objectives and things to work on just by that one statement, by saying, I don't want to have children. And gave everybody a job to do in how to educate him, bringing in even other agencies to talk to him about different things that I'm not knowledgeable about, but I could find my resources and get him connected with the right people in the community to discover that. And that just doesn't happen over one conversation. That happens over 3 years of transition time at the transition center. So lots of good direction we had with that. And then he said he doesn't want to end up with no friends, and that's huge. So what do you want then? Well, he wants to find a place where he fits in. So he has a group of people to hang out with. And then that led us to exploring his community and what's available. You know, what volunteers or nonprofits could he get involved in where he would have a group of people that were like-minded and he felt comfortable and safe and enjoyed spending time. Maybe looking at some of the service organizations and going and visiting a Kiwanis Club or visiting Sertoma, and to see if there was a fit where he might be able to join a service organization. And again, just planting seeds. You know, some of that stuff doesn't happen before they leave the center, but it can happen later in their life once that seed is planted. Developing hobbies, you know, gaming was a big one for him. So figuring out in the community where he could go and spend time with his gaming and have a group of people to socialize with. And then the last example I'm going to give is his words. And this was a very heartfelt conversation. It was kind of hard, I think, for his parents and for myself, but he said he doesn't want to eat himself to death. And so then that led to what we do want is better weight, better eating habits, which then led to IEP goals about physical fitness routine, meal planning, you know, using the resources of myplate.gov, cooking meals at home rather than eating out. It just opened a whole smattering of things to be focused on and working on. So hopefully that's helpful on how it can go for one student. You can see in the two boxes on the left, one up on the top where it talks about what kinds of things have helped. And he talks about attending the transition center. And then he said, trying to get my driver's license, which I'm happy to report he does have his driver's license. So that's exciting. And then in the bottom box, it says what's gotten in the way. And he was able to identify his depression and his anxiety and his stress and overeating. And so there again, those things right there led us to a lot of goals and objectives on helping him manage those things so that they wouldn't get in the way. So.
Thanks so much, Ellen. We're a couple minutes ahead. I just wanted to see if there were, you know, one or two quick questions that participants here have about what we've shared so far. So there's a question in the chat: how well have these tools work for children with physical disabilities and need support with medical devices or medication? Any recommendation for other tools to help support these discussions?
So we are exploring that with our students who have multiple disabilities and the physical disabilities. Most of our students that we're doing that with, it's really coming from the parents' perspective and what they don't want, and then what they do want. And it's working the same. It's just opening up a lot of conversations. And again, keeping that focus when we feel stuck, or one of the videos said, felt like they're treading water. If you look back at the trajectory, you go, oh yeah, here's where we're going and here's where we don't want to go. And it's just such a quick, simple tool to keep you focused and going in the right direction. But for our particular students that I'm working with the physical disabilities, the students, we're trying to show pictures and give them choices. So we're really trying to get as much student involvement in as possible to complete the trajectories. But we are definitely in the exploratory stage with that. So the parents are giving a lot of information at this time.
Well, and then I'd also like if somebody maybe from our planning team could speak to, just at a high level, some of the other tools that are available within the Charting the LifeCourse framework, because of course we're focused on the trajectory today, but there's other tools and approaches here. Jamie, do you want to take that?
Yeah, the integrated support star comes to mind. The trajectory would also be great for this, for identifying the child's priorities, you know, in terms of how they're accessing environments in light of their challenges. But the integrated support star, I'd highly recommend. You'll see links on our key resources page But the integrated support star can sort of lay out what's already in place and what's available and let you identify where there are missing pieces. So I think that's a great one, but I think it's definitely relevant and you could use any of them. So keep an eye out when these slides come out and when the key resources come out, and explore.
And then I've got M. Reese with their hand up. Do you have a quick question?
Oh yeah, or just really quickly. And my name is Mary. I'm a voc rehab counselor, and I love hearing the parents saying they're doing this with their children at a young age. And I think it would help. It's really, really difficult when we're getting into adulthood. There's like 20 people around the table. Who's doing what? Case managers turnover. And I think that if this were used widely in young age going forward, it would help a lot for defining roles, because I find I have to try to like, okay, who's doing what and all of that. And this would help a lot, especially if it started at a young age, like I'm hearing here. Wonderful.
Great.
I'm
Thank
glad
you
you
so
said
much,
that.
Mary. All right, I'm gonna keep us moving here. I'm gonna turn it over to who is next. I don't have my notes here.
I am.
Okay.
So, hi, my name is Heather Stillwell, and I work at the Southeastern Minnesota Center for Independent Living, but I am also a parent of a child that is finishing up school transition program. So I have a parent perspective that I'm bringing to this as well. So today we're going to do a group activity with everyone, and we really hope that everyone participates. We're going to, we looked to try and find a way to use the trajectory in a way that everyone can use their experience for. And what we decided to do is look and decide, do a trajectory about what a Good Life IEP meeting would look like. And so we want you to think about the IEP meeting from your current role. If you're a parent, if you're a professional, whatever your current role is, think about it from that. We've realized that everyone comes to this with different perspectives and experiences, and that some of the answers or responses that you might give might be contradictory to what other people have, and that's okay. We're just kind of doing this in general. There are no wrong answers. We're not debating what to put on there. We're just kind of looking at what people's experiences are and what they think might be a good, what they would think would help make an IEP a good meeting to keep focused on the student. So feel free to unmute yourself as we do this. Elisa is going to share a document and fill that out as we go on the screen. And you can feel free to unmute yourself and offer information, or you can put it in the chat, and we'll be monitoring the chat as well to make sure that your responses get included. And I'm going to turn it over to Nicole, who is going to facilitate us through this process.
Sounds good. Thanks, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
As Heather said, we want you to unmute and to share your experiences, and Elise is going to record that. One thing to really that I think you saw in all of the videos with the families is that this is a really diverse tool. You can use it in a lot of different ways, and you don't actually have to have the tool. You can do it just on a piece of paper or through a series of conversations. But we really wanted to give you the experience of what it might be like so that you can go forth and use it how you want. But know that it is flexible and you can use it the way that it makes sense to you. I heard throughout all of the presentations, people tend to find it easier to start with the what I don't want. And if that works for you, then that's a great place to start. The other thing I want to talk about is that when you're doing this, you can jump around if you need to. We're going to kind of start and move through it, but on your own, you jump around and add where it makes sense and where the conversation takes you. So when you think of an IEP meeting, which I think many of us have experienced, what are some of those things that you don't want to re-experience, or you don't want when you think of the best IEP meeting that you can think of? What are some of the things that it doesn't include or that you don't want? We're going to start there. And again, add in chat or turn on your camera, unmute, raise your hand, however you want to share what you're thinking about.
Hey, this is Doug Jans. I don't want to be the one that's doing most of the talking.
Great, thank you. You don't want to be doing the most of the talking. What are others thinking about?
In chat, Angela put she doesn't want animosity.
This is Kate. I don't want the student to be labeled as he, she versus talking directly. I don't want it to be talking around the student rather than with and to.
So making sure the student's included and making sure students at the center and that they're the focus.
Yeah, and inclusive language, because I think
Mm-hmm.
even it can look really included, and yet we're still saying, hey, she did this really well, or he's I'm like, feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, talking about people instead of to them and with them.
In the chat, Jamie said that she doesn't want important team members not present or only partially attending. So. Megan said that she would like, she wrote that teachers have said things like her child didn't know his ABCs in kindergarten and he can't be in school. And she would like more focus on what he can do rather than what he can't do.
That's great. And you can see that as Elise is doing this, she's picking up on some of those things that you guys have said that you do want. And so she's adding that. And that's where you can jump around as you hear things and you're just having a conversation. You just fill in where they go and make note of that. I think, Heather, if you, and it's okay, Elise, if you don't capture everything. If we just, Heather, if you want to read what else is in chat, because it looks like there's quite a few. If you want to go ahead and read those, then we'll jump up to the vision of what you do want.
Okay, so Krista wrote that she is a new parent heading in of a child going into an IEP process, and she does not want to be want it to be overwhelming for any one party. Carrie said she doesn't want the student's voice silenced. Candy said, I don't want the school to tell us what is going to happen. Conversely, want it to be a good collaboration. Beth mentioned, wrote that she doesn't want the school to come to the IEP meeting with a completed IEP. Someone wrote that they want the student present at the meeting, especially in high school and in transition.
Sounds good. So this is, and we're doing this so that you can kind of get an idea of how you fill it in. And how you think about it and how it helps you start thinking about it. So even though we might not have everything down, we're going to move up to vision of what you do want. So you can get an idea of this.
Leanne wrote, I want to build up the students so that they can look forward to the next year. All at the meeting, as well as the student, what they see, the student's strengths, gifts, and talents.
Great. Thanks, Leanne. And thanks for your video earlier. Just want to acknowledge you there that Leanne is the one that was presenting the trajectory in the video.
Thank you, Nicole.
What are some of the other things people do want in an IEP meeting when you think of what a great IEP meeting looks like for you and your student?
I don't know how to raise my hand on this thing.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I would like a family liaison to be present at the IEP meetings and to have been communicating with the parents beforehand about what to expect at their IEP meeting, just to make sure that they check in, that they are able to understand what is being presented to them.
Great, thank you. And how about Nicole? And then Heather, I'm going to have you read some of the chat. Nicole, go ahead.
What I would like to see an IEP meeting exactly because it's hard to explain because I end up having 4 kids with IEPs. And it's really hard to keep everybody straight. So it's, I mean, for surely the child, in my opinion, sometimes they should be there, sometimes they shouldn't. But to make sure that they have a safe environment in the school districts on any kind of school that there is. Because with one of my children, she has CP and I'm scared to get her on the bus and off the bus and have her go to school if there's severely ice out.
Sure, sure. So it sounds like at the IEP meeting, you would like flexibility so that if the student needs to be there, they can be, and maybe not. That you would also like to make sure that you feel safe bringing any concerns up at that IEP meeting that you would need to. And just knowing that it can be overwhelming and maybe you don't know everybody. And so making sure that there's clarity and those introductions and that people are getting to know each other and know who's on that team and that collaborative. Did I capture that for you, Nicole?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Heather, could you share some of the things that are in chat?
Sure. Douglas wrote that student participation in the meeting. Kate said finding options for the student. Someone wrote achievable short-term goals to build up the student's confidence as well as long-term goals. Doug mentioned having community support in attendance such as DHS and VRS. Angela said that transparency from school staff. Candy said strength-based wording, sharing what the child can do and building goals off of their strengths. Abby said students is prepped before the meeting about what will be discussed so that they can participate. Alexis wrote to ensure that the parents are being heard too as they are advocating for their children. Megan wrote, let student lead some or all of the meeting. Debbie wrote, I do want affirmation of the students' abilities and contributions, no matter how different those might be from more ableist expectations. I want to remark on successful outcomes of recognizing those contributions.
That's great. All of those things, it's really helpful. I want to attend some of these IEP meetings when all of these things are happening.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we're capturing all this, and we're going to shift because we're going to keep moving through this just so you can get an idea again of how this helps you think through it. So when you think about the things that you want for that good IEP meeting, what are the things that you have experienced that have helped you get to that? So it might be connecting with a teacher or getting information, but there's things that you may have experienced in the past that have really helped you on your way to getting to that good IEP vision. What are some of those things? If we can get just a few of those things as well, that would be great. Again, you can unmute, you can raise your hand or put it in chat. Could be professionals that were really connected to you, or as a professional, families that were really involved.
Jamie wrote team members who were engaged and excited to have a quality conversation that impacted the child's experience.
That's great. For me, I can tell you it was the IEP meetings where they had people at the IEP meeting that were professionals that valued my kid and saw him for all the great things that he could contribute, even though some of them might be different, but they really believed in him and connected with him.
So Jen wrote, I educated myself on what acronyms are. That's huge. The jargon gets thrown around, so knowing what everyone's talking about is so helpful. Jamie said an agenda is shared ahead of time. Candy said open minds of what is possible and willing to try new things.
That is great. All right. You can still add some things on any of the boxes. Like I said, we can jump around, but let's look at now, what are those things that maybe pushed you towards the IEP meeting that you don't want? What are some of those experiences that you've had that you don't want? And in both these experiences, it can also include those things that you either don't want to experience or that you need to avoid, or maybe that you still need to experience yet. So those things that might need to happen in order for you to either go towards what you're looking for or what you don't want in an IEP meeting. I might have made it more complicated there, but share some of those things that you experiences maybe that you don't want to have happen again.
Carrie wrote time limitations and people not heard. Another Carrie wrote parents who silence their student's voice and are more focused on their wants and needs than their child's. I think it's Mary that wrote critical partners not at the table. Jamie wrote low expectations and goals that weren't individualized. Erica said placing blame on the student. Megan wrote negate a parent's desires for their child and who the child family wants on the team. Scott said people just going through the motions, staff not aware of students' growth or abilities. Someone else wrote staff who make the meeting about themselves and their life experiences and or talk too much or for too long. Missy wrote no follow through once the IEP is in place.
This is great. I want to thank everybody for contributing and sharing. We really wanted you to just get the experience of how you might walk through this and how you can talk about it. We just want to ask a few questions just to have a little bit of a conversation about this process and how it was for you. So if you can unmute or put in chat, how was this process for you? How did it make you feel? And any comments around that you would like to make. Again, unmute, add in chat, really how you felt going through this process and being a part of creating a trajectory around an IEP meeting.
It allowed me to be clear-headed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Kind of organize your thoughts and be able to know what it is you would want to share.
Yes.
Great.
This is Mary. I like it's strength-based and also that it's looking at the overall picture, because I think sometimes it can be just too focused on what the goal is right now. And I think having this in place, like some parents have commented about, you know, your child doesn't know the ABCs. Well, if you come back to this, look at the progress that has been made or what we're really focusing on.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Mary. And Heather, I think we have a few things in chat.
Yeah. So Leanne wrote, this is super cool. How great this would be to present to schools and partners at a training network opportunity. Alexis wrote, I feel optimistic because I know that I know what to look forward to or expect. Katie wrote, express shared experiences, positive and challenges. Ellen wrote, many voices were heard through this process. And Scott wrote, I like how it is student focused and not so school driven. It allows parents and students to further be part of the planning process.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not sure on time. Do we have time for a couple more questions or?
Maybe one more question.
One more question. All right. I guess I'm going to go away from any of my questions. Trisha, you have your hand up. And
Hi. Oh, see if I get my video. So I'm actually here kind of for two reasons. One is I have a soon-to-be kindergartner who will definitely need a 504, might need an IEP. And I feel like I'm going into this process blind. Like, I don't know who I need to talk to in the district. All of the resources that they've given us mostly talk about IEPs, and we're really more in the 504 land. It's like, I don't know what's going on. But then I'm also here as a professional because I'm working on a project with the Minnesota Department of Education to create toolkits for helping families, schools, and communities help kids transition to kindergarten. And I would love to talk with some of you about including this as a resource in that toolkit that will be launched statewide and in 4 languages.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, and you will have all of our information at the end, so you can connect with any one of us and we can talk about this. And I know we have Ellen, you're from the Department of Education, are you not?
Ellen is from Alexandria Public Schools.
Alexandria Public Schools. But so she might be someone to reach out to. And then we do have some other people from the Department of Education. So there's definitely people that can help you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think we have some other chats or other things in the chat. And then I'm just going to give you some parting questions to think about as we go on to the next transition.
Okay, so someone wrote, I'd like to practice making my own personal trajectory before I use it with a student. And Carrie commented on that she used it to plan her upcoming vacation, what I want for my best vacation, what I don't want, what I will do to have a great vacation. I think that's a great idea. And then Jamie wrote that it is, so she was responding to another comment about trying it yourself. And it's like, it is so useful. It's a great idea to just practice using this for yourself.
It sure is. And it can be used in so many different ways. So just some things that we want you to think about is really, and I know we've had a couple of people touch on it, on how this helps you organize your thoughts, how this helps you articulate what it is that you're thinking about and what you want. And then we also just want you to think about where else you could use this. I think we've had a few people share those examples as well as how they might be using it. And how you might share this with an IEP team, or how you might go forth and use this for the student that you're supporting, or your child that you're supporting. So those are just some things that we want you to think about. And I think Meredith?
Yep. I'll take it from here. Yep. Thank you so much. That was a really exciting process to watch happen. I think all of us probably have some good ideas about how we might use it moving forward. Just to close us out here, I want to share with the group and I'm going to share my screen again, that our planning team has created a shared Google Doc where we've started dropping kind of key resources that might be useful to you as you think about using Charting the Life course in your work, and in particular, in this case, related to the IEP process. And so a link to that page is embedded in these slides, which will be sent out to you along with the recording after this session. And there's also a link within this resource page for all of the participants on the current leadership team for Minnesota Connect. So it has everyone's names and emails and where they're from, so that you'll have an opportunity to contact folks afterwards if you'd like. And then I do want to mention that we're going to have our second of 2 network sessions coming up on March 6th from noon to 1 p.m. It'll be a similar format to what we've done today, but the particular topic we're going to focus on is related to using Charting the Life course in transition to adulthood. So just a slightly different application of this framework of these tools. So I hope you'll save that date on your calendar, and we'll be sending out more information about that probably in the next couple of weeks. So just before you all leave us, I know we just have 1 minute left. I'd like to ask you to use the chat function to just answer a couple of questions to help us as we plan future events like this. So if you could drop in the chat, what did you like about this overall session? What, the way we approached it, just anything you liked about this session. What worked for you today? Okay, loved the brainstorming, hearing from parents, the interactive piece. Loved seeing how it relates specifically to IEP meetings. Loved working through the tool. Personal examples, perspectives from both parents and professionals. The participation aspect. Okay, great. How it's so helpful for organizing your thoughts. An hour is a good length of time. Everyone's opinions and different perspectives. Okay, anything else? Very informative, liked hearing parents' points of view. Okay. So let me move us to the second question, which is, what do you maybe want to try from this session? What was, sort of an idea that was interesting? What might you do based on what you learned or heard about at this session today? Using the chat. Making a trajectory for your next vacation. Getting certified as a Charting the Life Course ambassador because you loved it so much. Using the form, okay. The trajectory form, I'm assuming, Mary. Doing a trajectory informally over time. What else? Maybe doing a little bit of research into Charting the Life Course, just learning a little bit more about it if you haven't been exposed to it. Try utilizing it at work and other capacities. Oh, interesting. Having the student and parents fill out the trajectory to see where they might be the same and different. Okay, using it to make sure you're seeing what your child wants. So the child perspective, more research, using it with your team. Great. And then let me then just pose my third question. How can we help you move forward? What support do you need? What would be most helpful to you? So again, we are going to send out the slides. And we've got the beginning of this resource list. Is that useful? What else? How can our leadership team help you? A course for families new to IEPs. Okay. An interactive learning collaborative about Charting a Life Course for IEPs. Oh,
sorry, Meredith. I was just sharing to look on the key resource list that we are starting some Good Life groups for parents. So check out that list when you get it.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Would a session like this be useful for more audiences? How could we help spread the word? How do we keep moving forward with the tools? Not just something we did so that you actually breathe life into it. Okay. Administrative buy-in. Sure, yeah. So how could this group be helpful with that? How to work collaboratively with school personnel regarding the IEP, coming from a mental health case manager. Okay. Great. Well, I recognize that we're over time, so I think we'll also, as we send out these materials, we'll pose these 3 questions again. So if you think of something else, are forms in different languages? I don't know. Does anyone know the answer to that?
There are a few different languages available. So
there are?
I can connect with you, Abby, and we can talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you will hear from us again. Like I said, we will have another one of these sessions just focused on a slightly different topic, which is Charting the Life Course and transition to adulthood. on March 6th from noon to 1. So please join us again for further conversation. And I just want to extend a special thank you to those members of the leadership team who put in so much work and I think designed and pulled off a really amazing session. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to everybody for your time and great conversation today. So have a great afternoon, and those members of the leadership team, if you could stay on so that we could do a little bit of a debrief. Thanks, everybody.
Do you want us to stay on, or do you want us to jump off and go to that other one?
I think, isn't it the same?
Oh, is it the same?
The
That shows how
same.
much I know. I was thinking we were jumping off and going to the other one so that
No.
any,
Uh-uh.
all right.
Good job, everyone.
That was great. Like
It
all
was
parts of it were
awesome.
great.
Like such great interaction. You didn't even need us to like help chime in.
Oh, I'm going to stop the recording.
Oh, yeah.